side, ref! Welcome back to In From The Side. Another week, another show. I'm here with my co-host and good mate, Matthew Rhodes. Matthew, good to see you.
Good to see you too, buddy. Good to be seen.
Yeah.
How you been?
Yeah, good. Another week, another show. We got great traction from our show that we did last week.
Yeah.
Where we picked the greatest Springbok side of the professional era of the last 30 years. We're going to do something similar today. But why does it matter what we think?
Yeah, we're a rugby show. If you're tuning in for the first time, it's a rugby show based on our opinions. Two blokes who like to get together, watch rugby. We know less than some and maybe more than others. And so we get together, we give our opinions. We think that it's good to share. If you like the show, like it, share it with your mates. Obviously, go and follow us on all the socials. And if you can, make a comment so that we can hear your opinions too.
Yeah, it'll definitely, create a debate. Whenever you select a side or a fantasy side or a best of, people get in. So we picked our greatest Springbok side of the last 30 years.
And if you haven't seen that, there's a link here. Go to our show, go and have a look at the Springbok side. But that Springbok side that we picked collectively needed to play someone.
Yeah, so today we are picking our arch rivals, the All Blacks, proudly wearing their jersey. A fantasy team, again, from the same period. Now, it's very important because I'm sure somebody in the comment section will say, but what about John Kerwin or so-and-so or Bruce Robertson from the 70s? We are picking a side from the professional era, so from 1995 up until today. That's the criteria. There's many great All Blacks that won't be part of the selection. I can think of 10 off the top of my head. But we'll get into it.
Guaranteed someone's going to say, oh, you didn't pick Pine Tree, Colin Meads.
Colin Meads is not in. Wilson Winneray is not in. Yeah, John Kerwin's not in.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how it goes. This is purely our opinion, as Matt said. But let's get into it.
A lot of fun. So, yeah, we started off with the back three. Who'd you go for?
Back three, I went with Christian Cullen at fullback, which I think picks himself. And then on the wings, Jonah Lomu and Jeff Wilson.
I picked the same three.
Really?
Yeah. So,
nice.
So Christian Cullen, I think, for me, was always a standout character. At 15, he just was poetry in motion, had an amazing gait, was really, really quick, but seemed to have a sidestep in motion where he just swerved. He could read the game well. He was just class. Absolute class.
Unbelievably strong for a scrawny, skinny guy. He was unbelievably strong. One of the biggest bench pressers in the All Black side. He had an underrated kicking game. I don't think people recognize how good he could kick. But just as a counter-attacking fullback, there's no one that even holds a candle.
No, and it was hard. As this exercise is, there are lots of great fullbacks that the All Blacks have had come through their ranks before, the likes of Mills Muliaina, Ben Smith, Israel Dagg.
Yeah, all great players.
And even currently Will Jordan playing at 15. But to me, in my mind, none of them hold a candle to Christian Cullen.
No, he's the GOAT. I think if he's part of the debate of a greatest rugby team of all time. A lot of people will say Serge Blanco. A lot of people will say Jason Robinson. For me, it's always Cullen. Yeah. It doesn't matter which country. If you pick an all-time great, that's him for me. He's in the same echelon as a Donny Gerber. You know how much I love a Donny Gerber. So these guys are mythical creatures in the world of rugby.
Which is a nice little segue into your selections for our selections for wing. Jeff Wilson, you've lamented in other shows before about how he's annoyed you previously. And so I was sure because we pick these teams independently, we don't tell each other until we film, what each other has gone for. But I was sure you were going to go with someone else. So it's surprising that you went with Jeff.
In his playing days, when I was in high school and he was in his prime, yes, he did irritate me. It had more to do with how he celebrated tries and how he could wind up the crowd. It got under my skin because he scored a lot of tries against us.
Sure.
Right? So we were on the receiving end. Doesn't take anything away from his skill.
Yeah.
So I'm sure right wing will be very debatable. You've got your Doug Howletts and Joe Rokethokos and these guys all making a claim for that position of an all-time great. But for me, Goldie on the wing, he had all the skills, mate. He could kick the best exponent of a chip and chase that I've seen in rugby. Honestly, nobody chipped like him. Like, he could chip over any defender, collect, gather. There's so many tries. that he scored. So for me, he was, still the best.
Yeah, he was sensational. I loved watching him play. That's why I picked him. Actually, going back to Christian Cullen quickly, it was also really good at that chip. He could chip kick. It seemed in motion. So he didn't
On
stop
full speed.
at full speed. He didn't stop his stride, and he managed to chip over and collect. And Jeff Wilson was amazing at that. Not only an amazing All Black, but an amazing sportsman. He took time out from playing All Blacks to go play for New Zealand cricket, and then I think made a comeback as well. And he's a good bloke off the field, commentator that we listen to often, makes some good assessments, often about our Springboks as well, pretty fair, I think, in his judgment sometimes. But coming back to his on-field, he was sensational.
Well, he's less one-sided than John Kerwin when it comes to assessing the Springboks. So
together,
based on that, Goldie all day long.
Good cop, bad cop. Yeah.
Left wing, I think, is an obvious one, but it often polarizes people because a lot of, especially South Africans, which we know we've got a big audience, they'll say, but Jonah couldn't score against the Springboks. He wasn't that great in defence, but. And there's a lot of good left wingers that's come out of New Zealand, the likes of Julian Sevilla, Sevivatu, they all spring to mind. But just the impact, that Jonah's had on the game is, I don't think any player since, in 30 years of professional rugby, has had that global impact of elevating the profile of the game globally.
Yeah. If you speak to any non-rugby fan, someone who doesn't really know much about rugby, maybe someone old enough to have been around that 1995 World Cup, where he kind of burst onto the scene from a global perspective, or even today, people who don't know much about rugby, there's still, even after his passing, maybe one name that they would connect with in rugby, and it's synonymous with his name, John Olomu.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really hard to leave out all those other names. As you said, Dougie Howlett, 62 appearances. I think it was 245 points or something
He's
in that region.
He's got a scary strike rate. 49 tries for the All Blacks.
Joe Rokokoko, 68 appearances, 230 points. Like, these guys were sensational in their own right. When you think about it, Lomu, 63 appearances, 185 points. Like, not as much as them, didn't have as much return. But again, the impact that he had on the game globally was outstanding, and for that reason, I think he's the stand-up.
No, he deserves his place. He's a legend amongst men. He was amazing.
And taken too soon.
Yeah, absolutely taken too soon. Just one thing on that stat, that he never scored against the Springboks. It's the most pointless stat in rugby. I hate it when people say, but he's never scored against the Springboks. There's many players that's never scored against the Springboks. We were obsessed with stopping him. And Cullen and Wilson scored all the tries on the other side of the field. So
exactly.
It's a bit of a pointless stat. And in those days, we lost more to the All Blacks than we won. So, no, Jonah deserves a spot. And he's one of the best ever.
Yeah, without a doubt. And he didn't win the 1995 World Cup, but he won Commonwealth Games, gold. He won gold at, I think, the
Hong Kong Sevens, World Cup Sevens.
World Cup Sevens. I mean, he was a complete and utter athlete.
Yeah.
And fair play to him. He deserves a spot. So I couldn't leave him out. Very funny that you and I both picked the same three.
Exact same back three. Let's see if we picked the same centre combo. Who did you pick in the midfield?
So I think this is going to be a bit controversial, but I went with Conrad Smith and Geordie Barrett.
And Geordie at inside. Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
I thought if you pick Conrad, you'd pick that combo with Nonu.
Ma Nonu. The reason I didn't go Ma is because I think I'm trying to look for a more complete team. Ma is a sensational rugby player. All of these people that we're going to talk about, they are outstanding.
Yeah.
Most of the people that we're going to mention today are double World Cup winners, are Tri-Nations winners, are Bledisloe Cup winners, are Super Rugby winners, are NPC winners. Like, they all are outstanding. Ma Nonu deserves his place for mention. But for me, the reason I didn't pick with him is he didn't have as great a time at provincial level, and then would come onto the field there for All Blacks and storm it. And there were a couple of times in his career he kind of went away and then came back. And one of the things, and I said this about the Springboks that I picked last week as well, Nonu is good to give you a couple of yellow cards or a red every now and again. And for that reason, I went with his buddy, Conrad, because I thought he was more solid.
Okay, so you went with Conrad and you went with Geordie. You know that in our Springbok side that we did pick Peter Steph.
Yeah.
So are you sure you want to pick Geordie?
Yeah.
Because he's going to take shots, mate, in this fantasy matchup.
They can be sharing a glass of wine together. Like, at the end of the day, I think Conrad Smith, 94 appearances for the All Blacks, scored 130 points, which is fair for a centre. Again, as I say, 2 World Cups, Tri-Nations, and he was a smart bugger. Like, well known that he's qualified lawyer, I think, and just read the game, I think, so well. He was so solid, so reliable, and he was a demon in that partnership together with Ma'anonu. So I liked him for that.
Yeah.
And I went with Geordie because 67 appearances, 297 points. That's just, not only is he great at centre, but he's got versatility. He can play fullback, he can play wing, he'd probably play anywhere. And he's got that siege gun boot on him. So, he gives you that dynamism. If you get a penalty, the dining moments, and you're in your own half, he might be able to slot it for you.
Yeah,
so,
except if it's a World Cup final, then he will miss it. But anyway.
your point. Wow. All our All Black mates are going to be enraged right now.
You know what? We can dish it out, but we can also take it in the comment section.
Winners.
Geordie is a great player. I think inside centre is his best position. I think he's a better centre than a fullback. I went with a completely different centre combination. I did go with Ma'anonu.
Okay.
And I went with Tana Umanga at outside centre. Like the two predators in the midfield.
Sure.
I mean, they'll just be devastating. I loved Umanga. I think his skill set, it was great when they converted him from wing to centre. I think that elevated his game, became All Black captain for 2 seasons. In that 2005 British Lions series, he was on top form.
It was amazing.
So loved him as an attacking player, strong ball carrier, good handling skills for a big man. Similarly, Nonu. Now, I know what you mean by Nonu went away for a bit because he made his debut at 21 in 2003.
Yeah.
He was very, very much a crash ball, carry the ball, make lines, very one-dimensional type of player.
Yeah.
Then he didn't get selected for 2 or 3 years. He came back around the 2007 World Cup, 2008, and he was a completely different player. He had a well-rounded skill set, a better distribution game, had an eye for a gap, could put players like Conrad Smith into space, good kicking game, underrated kicking game, defensively very strong. I just think he was the complete package at inside centre. Again, played over 100 tests for the All Blacks, and I get your point on the provincial form, because specifically when he played for the Blues and for the Highlanders, he didn't have great Super Rugby tournaments, but he could always switch it on when he wore the All Black jersey.
Yeah, he could.
I've never seen him play a bad test for the All Blacks, and that's what we're basing the selection on.
Yeah, fair enough.
How he played for the All Blacks. But again, all 4 fantastic players. I can't fault you on your selection, and I think likewise who I pick in the midfield, they'll be devastating.
Mate, and so hard because you got people like Frank Bunce.
Oh, we haven't even spoken about Bunsey. Bunsen Little.
Well, that Frank Bunce, Walter Little, and another one to needs to mention, Aaron Major as well at centre.
Fantastic.
Like, these guys are just world class.
Mate, we haven't even spoken about Rico Ioane and Sonny Bill Williams at inside. I mean, how do you leave Sonny Bill out?
Really, really difficult. I think for me, Sonny Bill, again, like Lomu, came in and he brought in a new crowd. Obviously, he'd been playing NRL, came across, and his ability to offload, to draw in the tackle. He was tall, rangy, but his ball handling skills, phenomenal.
Yeah.
A complete athlete again. I just don't think he had enough time, because he did dual code. I don't think he had enough time to kind of warrant a sort of top selection here. But he's worth talking about.
Yeah, the number one reason why I didn't pick Sonny Bill is he could never lift Nonu permanently out of the All Black side. So I just like Nonu by default for me was better.
Yeah, I mean, again, you won't get any pushback from me. Tana, I thought, was an amazing player in his own right. A really smart rugby brain, evidenced by the fact he's now coaching. Really, he has been for a while. But you knew when he had the ball in hand, he was always going to do something with it. He was dynamic. So fair play, can't fault you.
Okay, great combos. We didn't select the same centres. Who do you think should have made? Who's the best All Black centre pairing that you've
in your opinion?
Leave your comment below. Who did you pick at halfback? What does your halfback combo look like?
So my halfback combo, again, really some amazing names that I struggled to leave out, but leave out I did. I went with Aaron Smith and DC-10.
Yeah, so did I.
Jeez.
Same combo.
Really?
But I think this one, to be honest, was a little bit easier to pick. There
DC10.
there are some good names out there at fly off. Just immediately Andrew Mertens, Carlos Spencer, Richie Monga, Bowden Barrett. They're all in with a shout.
Yeah.
Aaron Cruden was a decent player, loved him.
Yeah.
None of them hold a candle, mate. Dan Carter is probably, whenever these debates come up, people will say he's not just the best fly-off of all time, he's probably the best player of all time. He just had everything. So that's a no-brainer at fly-off.
At 112 tests, he scored something like 1,598 points.
Yeah, scary.
And if you look in comparison, all those names that you said, Mertens, for example, 70 tests, 967 points. And Bowden Barrett, 132 tests, most capped back, All Black back of all time, and he's only 751 points. So it's like he's got more caps, but only half the points than your man. He also was playing in an age that kind of 2011, 2012 All Black team to 2015-16 rated as probably one of the best, if not the best, rugby team of all time.
Absolutely.
And to play in and amongst, the kind of forwards and backs that he had around him, the points tally, but still to amass 1,600, just shy of 1,600 points at fly-off.
No, it's scary.
Unbelievable.
It's going to take a very, very long time and a very special player to break that record. I can't see it being beaten in the next 2 decades, honestly.
And fair play, it's a once-in-a-generation type individual who will come and break that.
Absolutely.
And so
it's the next DC that's going to come.
There were 2 names. We haven't got to the one yet, but there were 2 names that went onto this. They wrote themselves on DC. Dan Carter was the first one on the list.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, and scrum off, Aaron Smith, again, Centurion, legend of the game, retired at the end of the World Cup in 2023. It was touch and go maybe between him and Justin Marshall. Was the only player that I thought could push him for an all-time great. Perenara is maybe part of the convo, Byron Kelleher. But
Piri
Weepu, maybe.
I love
versatility.
Piri. Yeah,
you loved him.
I love Piri Weepu. Piri Weepu would always go off after every season, go off and maybe just eat a few more burgers and pies than he should have.
Yeah.
And he'd come back looking a bit tank. And who am I to talk about that? But he'd always look a bit tank, and then he'd get in the gym, throw some tin around, and come back looking styling. And he just seemed to have he was a great player in his own right. Really talented, could play 9, could play 10. Good kicking game as well, both out of hand, but also for poles, and he deserves a shout out and a mention here. But for me, it was between Aaron Smith and Justin Marshall.
Yeah, Justin Marshall, fantastic. I mean, we had a golden era of scrum halves in the 90s where South Africa had Hurst, Australia had George Gregan, New Zealand had Justin Marshall. I just love those 3 playing against each other in the Tri-Nations. That was great to see. He is up there. I mean, legend of the game. Played for the All Blacks for a decade, and he deserves a mention. But Aaron Smith, I think part of the All Black success under Steve Hansen specifically was their attack and their ability to score tries. And if you just look at his service, he's with Fourie de Preer, I think they're the 2 best passes of the ball off the deck, off the base of the scrum. He's got a beautiful pass, and I think that just made Carter even a better player. So that's your number 1 job, mate, as a scrum half. Get the ball out, get good service to the back line, and dictate the play with your halfback partner. And he was awesome. Loved him.
But 124 tests, 132 points himself. As much as he got the ball to Dan Carter and out to the line, and his delivery was on point. They had front foot ball all the time. 132 points at scrum half. It's because he could also spot the opportunity, take the gap. He scored some amazing tries himself.
Yeah.
So he is amazing, and he deserves his 9. His 9 position.
I think that halfback pairing, no argument there. I think they picked themselves. Loose forward. This is a tough one because there's been, like South Africa, so many great loose forwards over the last 30 years. Who did you go for?
So I went with Josh Kronfeld.
Okay.
Yeah. Richie McCaw, who was the other one that I thought just absolutely writes his name first on the list. And then at number 8, I went Kieran Reid.
Ah, okay. Very similar. I went with Rido at 8.
Yeah.
Richie McCaw at open side, picks himself, greatest player of all time. And at 6, I went with Jerry Collins.
Oh, big Jerry.
Jerry. Yeah, the cappuccino.
Man Mountain.
I love Jerry Collins. Just his direct, abrasive way of playing rugby.
Aggressive.
He's the New Zealand version of Bucky's Puerta.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't take a step back. He will hurt you, and that's his role.
He was an enforcer. And he was...
And I love that about him.
Oh, man. Like...
But he also had a skill set. He wasn't just that brute. Like, he had some fine touches. But I absolutely love Jerry Collins. And he went to France after the 2007 World Cup, and I think we didn't even see the best of him. Like, he should have played 100 tests.
And another that went too soon. But from what I'm saying, he and Tana are cousins as well.
They are cousins.
And so maybe that kind of silky ball skills from growing up together playing in the yard. At the end of the day, he was a fantastic player in his own right. But some amazing players in that team, for me, really, really... Look, I went with Josh Kronfeld. I love the way he played. He was always really hard, dogged. He had played with a lot of heart. And a lot of the time, I think as well, when everyone was honing in, during that period, when everyone was honing in on Lomu, it would be Josh Kronfeld coming through on a support line that he'd obviously end up getting popped to and then scoring a try. So he was really good. As a flanker, he was sensational. But, 54 appearances for the All Blacks, 70 points. And I just loved the way that he played, so I thought I went with him.
I love Josh Kronfeld. Fantastic player, good pundit, love listening to him.
Yeah, he's really funny.
And as you say, his support play, if you watch the highlights of the 95 World Cup, I think he scored 2 or 3 times, just shadowing Jonah, just being close to Jonah and picking up the ball 5 meters from the line. But that's what a good player does, plays support well. And actually, in the amateur days, there wasn't like fetchers. There wasn't a well-known role.
Like
loose forwards, they weren't... They weren't there to turn over ball, and he was one of the first guys that I can remember that was really good at it. Like, if you didn't have support players at the ruck, Kronfeld will have his hands on the ball, and this is before Richie and Michael Hooper and Skalkberger and all these guys came onto the scene. So, fantastic player. The other 2 guys we did agree on. Richie McCaw picks himself. Greatest All Black of all time. Fair to say?
I've heard you say this before. Look, there's, again, some of the people watching this would have opinions of maybe 1 or 2 others, but what did he do wrong? There's as in, like, find some fault with Richie McCaw. He just doesn't have any.
Mate, he won. I mean, very few players play 100 tests.
Yeah.
He's won more than 100 tests
as captain
in an All Black jersey. It's just unreal, like what he's achieved in rugby, and having that pressure of being a captain of a nation where the expectation is exceptionally high. Like, New Zealand doesn't tolerate losing; they don't do losing, which is very respectable. And Richie he owned it, and he made that side better. They were always 20-30% better when Richie and Dan Carter was on the field.
Yeah,
if they didn't play, any team was in with a shout. If they played, it was going to be a long day in the office.
Again, another student of the game. He was a really intelligent bloke. Even at schoolboy level, I think he got the Dux Prize at school, and I think he failed. And didn't fail. I think he got like 100% for all of his exams in his final year, except for one, and he got 98%. And he talks about how he knew the answer to the question afterwards, and he was always disappointed that he didn't get it right. Like, just a perfectionist in everything that he does. Smart man. But even when he was being interviewed after as captain, it's always easy to be magnanimous when your team are smashing everyone else for such a consistent period of time. But he always seemed to hold himself up with class.
Yeah.
So fair play, Mr. Rugby.
Yeah, I have to say there's 2 notable mentions for me, though. Although Richie owns that position, I think Michael Jones, the Iceman, is in with a shout. He was fantastic, legend of the game. Scored the opening try in the first 2 World Cups. That's something that he can own for the rest of his life. And then, you know what? We haven't spoken about it before, but we need to give credit to Sam Cane.
Yeah.
Like, unsung hero. I think he gets a lot of flack unnecessarily. He's played 100 tests now for the All Blacks. I think he's done. He's retired from the All Black jersey, but just a bit of credit needs to go to Sam Cane. I think he was better than a lot of people give him credit for.
But there was such an expectation on him because Richie owned that position.
Yeah.
He was taking over the role, and it's hard to fill those shoes, right? Richie McCaw, 145 tests, 148 points or
something like that. 148 points.
148 tests, 145 points.
Yeah, unreal.
Like, just amazing at sort of, flank. But Sam Cane, amazing. One of the ones that I struggled with at 8, I was going to go, obviously I've gone with Kieran Reid. We haven't even talked about him. Because I was going to go Jerry Collins as well at 8. But
he has played 8. Yeah.
But for me, because again, I wanted that enforcer. For me, it came down to Kieran Reid or Zinzan Brook. And I went with Kieran Reid, but Zinzan was just, he was on my sheet, and then it was Kieran, then it was Zinzan Brook was outstanding.
Yeah, Zinzan was awesome. Everyone loved him. It was very difficult in the 90s watching these guys play. And we, in South Africa, the Springboks started playing regularly against the All Blacks. We didn't have a lot of love for a lot of their players, but like Zinzan, you speak to any South African, you won't hear anything negative about Zinzan. People love him. He is well respected everywhere. Fantastic player, had the greatest skill set for forward. That drop kick that he kicked in 95 against England.
And then he did it again.
I just looked at it and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. And then a year later he did it against the Springboks at Loftus, which cost us the series. And then I wasn't that impressed. But fantastic player. Another one we didn't talk about was Ardie Savia. He's not even in our combo.
How do you leave out Ardie Savia?
World Player of the Year.
World Player of the Year, 91 tests, 135 points. Just like, it's so hard. It's so hard to leave him out. Again, just an amazing human, amazing rugby player. But on the pecking order, I think Kieran Reid, then Zinzan, then Ardie for me. For me, Zinzan was the one. Again, you look for people who were innovators of the game. And as you say, pick up off the back, run out between the sort of halfway and 10-yard and do a drop kick. Amazing, just for an eighth man to do that. And then there was a story, I think, was it you telling me about when he went to Wembley for the first time?
Yeah, he played his final test against Wales at Wembley in 1997.
Yeah.
And he just read the program before the match, like Wembley, and it was famous for the FA Cup and all the goals that were scored. And he just decided there, I'd like to score a goal at Wembley. And he kicked a drop in his final test. They smashed Wales because Wales, they weren't really competition in those days. But he just, before the match, was like, I'm going to kick a drop. And he did it, and he kicked it. So
fair play.
Unbelievable player. We haven't even spoken about Kieran Reid, who we did pick.
But we picked Kieran Reid.
Why?
And Kieran Reid, 127 tests, 130 points at eighth man. Just played with complete and utter heart the whole time. Great captain as well. Great ball skills. Tall, strong, would run through brick walls for you. He just, again, like Richie, was always so composed, so measured in his responses. He seemed to be such a gentleman of the game, and his achievements speak for themselves. So for me, again, hard to leave out any of these blokes, but for me, he was the standout, and maybe a bit of favoritism here, because I actually met the bloke and I sat with him at a benefit. So there's the Flynn boys, Corey Flynn at the time, Aaron Flynn, Flinny, shout out to you. He was sitting with me. We used to work together. They were arranging a benefit evening for one of the Flynn boykies, Mark. And anyway, the long story short is there was an All Black station at every table at this benefit evening. Steve Hansen, Richard McCaw were keynote speakers, and Kieran Reid was stationed at my table. And so not only a great bloke on the field, a great bloke off the field. We had a couple of beers, and he's good to share a beer with. So shout out to him. But in terms of picking him, it was an easy pick because he was so good.
Yeah, well, I'm not best mates with an All Black, so I only have my I only have my objective opinion to go on.
I didn't say that.
So taking all of that favoritism out of the equation. No, he's in his prime. Like, I'm thinking of that 2013 season.
Unbelievable.
There was a test at Ellis Park where the Springboks had to win that test to have a shout of winning the rugby champs. It was one of the best tests ever played. And on that day, he was the difference between us winning and losing. Like, he was all over the place. Put Ben Smith into space to score a try. I think he scored a try himself. He was unbelievable, and that's a very vivid memory that I have of him. And he played a lot of tests like that. When he was on top form, the perfect player. You couldn't fault anything that he did.
Paulson was like a basketball player.
absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
Okay, so that is the loose trios, 2 out of 3 that we agree on. So let's move on to the locking partner. I had a bit of trouble with locks because there's one guy that I thought might have made the team with Scott Barrett, which I didn't pick, but I picked Brody Retallick and Sam Whitelock.
Interesting. I went the same.
Same again. Okay.
So again, like really hard, really amazing set of people and a pool of people to pull from. But Sam Whitelock again almost writes himself onto the team sheet because he seemed to write his name onto the team sheet for what seemed like forever. 153 tests, just like
over 14 seasons. I mean, what a career.
But not only the longevity part of it, right? But his skill set. He was great at line out, good scrummager. There were a couple even where I think he broke from 50 and like he had a long rangey sprint on him. He just was, again, another athlete and just an amazing rugby player.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was an equalizer at set piece. Like before 2010 when he made his debut, Victor Matfield and Bakkies Botha dominated the lineouts. And the moment he came on the scene, it was like he was very much an equalizer. The New Zealand set piece picked up. I'm not saying it was because of him that they won the World Cup, but like the foundations of their game was a lot more solid when he came into the side. So I think he had a big impact on the All Black team, and then partnering with his partner in crime, Brody Retallick, which again, former World Player of the Year. When he was on top form, he was the best in the world.
Yeah, 109 appearances and I think only 45 points. But again, like Sam Whitelock, Rugby World Cup winner, Tri Nations winner, Freedom Cup, Super Rugby. Between Sam Whitelock and Brody Retallick, they'd won everything. I don't think Sam got World Player of the Year. I think he was New Zealand Player of the Year 2017.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. But Brody Retallick, that 2014 season was World Player of the Year for all the right reasons. He was just a man mountain, and he was in everything. And he was as dogged as he was silky with some of his skills. He just, we talked about a few of the eighth men and flankers being enforcers. Jerry Collins. We didn't even mention Rodney Sorialo, by the way.
Yeah,
like another.
Absolutely. Great player.
But Brody Retallick was your man to get in there and to get stuck in. And he earned all the accolades for it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we agree on the locking partner. Who did you pick in the front row? Who's going to anchor the scrum?
Yeah, so loose head, I went Tony Woodcock. Mm-hmm. And then somewhat controversially, I think, but we'll cover this off, I went with the gentleman, Kevin Mialamu at hooker. And then for me, tight head, Owen Franks was standout.
Mate, I went with exactly the same front row.
We've had a lot of a similar pack.
Yeah, but it's indicative of, the standout players. Like you can debate, and every country will produce their world-class players. But these guys were the best. I mean, I crossed out a couple of names at tight head. Cole Heyman in with a shout. I just don't think he had the longest career. He played his best rugby year in France.
Yeah.
Olo Brown, fantastic player, but he spent the majority of his career playing in the amateur era. He only played 2 seasons as a pro, so I didn't really look at him. Tony Woodcock is the standout with Craig Dowd, I think, worth mention. And then hooker is probably the one where we can debate the most, because you had Kevin Mialamu, Sean Fitzpatrick, Dane Coles, Cody Taylor, Corey Flynn. So many good names at hooker.
Yeah, it was hard for me to leave off Sean Fitzpatrick. I just think that he was such an amazing captain for New Zealand and for the Auckland Blues in such an amazing period of their provincial rugby as well. The likes of Lomu playing for them as well at the time. I think Colin Spencer. The Auckland Blues were a formidable outfit, and he led them bloody well. But and he's since been involved in and sort of a pundit of rugby for many years since. And you hear his analysis and his opinions of rugby since, and you just don't know that he's just a rugby brain. I think his family and his heritage are rugby
His dad was an All Black.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, it's in his blood, literally. But Kevin Mialamu, for me, 132 tests, 60 points, 2 World Cups. He was outstanding.
Yeah, you often, we talk about the Springboks and the All Blacks very much the same. And it's like what epitomizes a great All Black. It's not just what you do on the field, it's how you conduct yourself off the field. And he's just one of those guys where if you speak to any guy that's played against him in the toughest of tough test matches, you will not hear a bad thing about Kevin Mialamu. He's so respected, specifically in South Africa. No one has a bad word to say about him. And I know he's broken South African hearts a couple of times. I remember a try he scored in 2005 in Dunedin to win that game and clinch the Tri-Nations for the All Blacks. The Springboks were in with a shout. So we were always on the receiving end. But at set piece, so solid. Hardly ever missed a line-out throw. And strong scrummager. So, the complete player at hooker, really, for me.
His lineouts were amazing. And like you say, he was very gritty and would be stuck in at every opportunity. He seemed to just revel and, get lavish those moments where, he was buried in it. But his longevity at that level as well is outstanding.
Yeah.
So for me, just pipped Sean. But you talk about some of those props that you just mentioned there. A few of them. So Tony Woodcock, for me, he had to be in 118 tests, 50 points, and that try that he scored in the World Cup where they did a split line-out move and he comes through the middle and he just silky smooth dives over the try line into the try box. Just beautiful.
The same way Richard Bands will be remembered for that try scored in Dunedin. The same way Tony Woodcock will be remembered for that try. But that's not what made him a great player. Like at set piece and the fundamentals of being a good loose head prop, he was just perfect.
Mate, there was a story about how he always wanted to play every minute of rugby that he possibly could. To a point where he got told by the All Blacks sort of management team that he was on forced leave. His team were in the Ranfurly Shield. They were playing for the Ranfurly Shield, and he apparently approached All Blacks management to say that he wanted to play. They allowed him to come back early. He played in the game, and his team won the Ranfurly Shield for the first time. Just an amazing sort of committed rugby player, and reminds me in that sense of Osterrand.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then on the tight head side, his long-term partner, Owen Franks. There's some competition at tight head, Carl Heyman, Olo Brown, Case Muse, Ben Franks. But Owen Franks made that position his own for the better part of a decade.
Yeah.
And it's hard to dispute his inclusion in our fantasy All Black side.
Yeah, I mean, 108. So he probably won't like the stat, but 108 tests, 0 points. But that's not what you want. You leave the points.
Well, he's won 2 World Cups, so I don't think he cares about
he doesn't
about the tries.
I don't think he cares about that. And you could turn around and say, or he could turn around and argue he wasn't there to score points, and that's why he gave probably Dan Carter about 400 of the points he would have scored. He was there to scrum. Scrumming is an art, and he was an artist.
Great. So that is our starting lineup. We've got to move things along and select our bench because we know the Springboks are going to bring on the bomb squad in the second half. Who are the guys that's going to contest with that bench from South Africa?
Yeah, it was hard, but I went Ben Franks to come on replacement at prop, Brad Thorne.
Yeah.
Thorny was amazing. I loved him. Like, he played well at NRL. He played well at Union. He's a bloody good coach. He won pretty much everything there is to win in both codes. And also just another, like Bucky's, enforcer, but like really strong. So he'd come in at lock for me. And then replacement hooker, another, we talked about Sean Fitzpatrick, but I think Dane Coles as an impact player. Dan Coles had silky skills. You'd find him on the wing often. Yeah. Really great captain for the Hurricanes. He had pace on him for a hooker as well. But he was also gritty. He had the niggle about him. And he did. So if you were in a team 60 minutes down and you were kind of neck and neck, you want someone like that to come in and cause a bit of shit.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
And so I went with Dane Coles, and my final sort of selection for the scrum replacements. I went 4-4. I went with Adi Savia.
Okay, you put Artie on the bench.
I think Adi would be an amazing impact player.
Yeah.
Your man runs through brick walls every second he's on that field. If you gave him 40 minutes or 30 minutes, like he has the ability to turn the tide.
Okay.
And you know, in terms of positional play, he can play 8, he can play flank. So he provided that kind of flexibility for me.
Okay, and the rest of your bench, you said you only picked 4 forwards, which is really interesting.
Yeah, so I went...
Because I went with a 6-2 split for the Springbok team we selected, so that'll be a good matchup. But
Yeah,
who's your back replacements?
So I couldn't leave out Bowden Barrett.
Yeah.
Bowden Barrett was... His mates gave him the nickname at school. His nickname was God, because he could do everything. And he's shown it. He can do that on the field still. He can play 10, he can play wing, he can play fullback. He can kick your goals. He's got the most incredible vision. He's fast. I mean, I'll never forget where he caught, like he had to turn around and caught Brian Abana from behind in the corner. I think a lot of people don't give him enough credit for how quick he is.
Yeah, he was.
But his abilities, scary how talented this boy is.
Yeah.
So for me, I'd have him in my bench to come on and to give cover at those positions. And then Rico Ioane, again, for that flexibility. He could play wing, he could play centre. He's playing well at centre. Strong, fast, 80 tests and 165 or 185 points, I think he scored for the All Blacks. So he would definitely be someone that I could see coming on to have an impact. And then my final selection, I couldn't leave out Will Jordan.
Okay.
So Will Jordan, again, he's got that flexibility. He can play wing, fullback. But 190 points from 41 test matches. That is scary good.
I count 7 on the bench. You're missing someone.
Oh, I forgot. my replacement at 9 could have gone with Justin Marshall, but I actually went with Piri Wipu.
Okay, interesting.
Because again, I think Piri adds a bit of flexibility in that he can play 10 as well. And I know I've got like cover across those positions, but if there's been more than a couple of injuries, Bowden could go 15, Piri could go 10. Okay. So Piri comes in to cover that, and he was a character, and I love the bloke. So he gets in my team.
Hey mate, it's your team. It's I'm sure a lot of people have comment about the 4-4 split.
Yep.
Well, Ben Franks is going to have to cover both sides of the scrum, but that's your team, and I love it. I get the rationale. I went classic 5-3 split for the All Blacks.
Okay.
Picked a full front row. I went Craig Dowd as my backup loosehead, which I think he was a fantastic player in the 90s.
Yep.
So good. Olo Brown at tight head.
You love Olo Brown.
I do love Olo Brown. I just think he's a legend of the game. People don't talk about him often, but he was just so dynamic and a really strong scrummager. So when we bring Ox on for the Springboks, he'll stand up. So I'd like to see that contest. And then at hooker, like you, I picked Dane Coles. I think as an impact player, coming on, all the hard work's been done. The game gets a little bit loose. You can benefit from his skill set. He loves running with a ball. He's the complete player.
Loves a chirp as well. Gets in the ref's ear. Gets in the ear of the other boys. Gets a bit of niggle. I like it.
And then my other forwards, I didn't find space for Adi Savia, unfortunately. Okay. I went with Jerome Kano.
Oh, wow.
Which,
we didn't even talk about him.
Just a legend of the game.
Yeah.
Definitely deserves his place in the squad for
100%.
me. Won 2 World Cups. Just a beast of a player. And then I went with Scotty Barrett. So he'll give you cover at lock and at loose forward.
Yep.
So then you covered at lock, you covered at loose forward. Your front row is covered, which opens up a backline replacement of Justin Marshall at 9. I couldn't leave him out. I get your rationale with Piri, but Marshy's good enough to be part of this team. I went with Bodie as my backup flyer fullback. Not that we're going to need him at fullback because I've also picked Will Jordan.
Fair enough.
Now, that's a big call because he's still relatively young in his All Black career.
Tests. Yeah.
But in 41 tests, he's almost scored like 40 tries. He's got an unbelievable strike rate. He covers wing, he covers fullback. I think by the time he retires, he's going to be spoken in the same vein as a Christian Cullen.
Yeah.
He's that good. So I had to make space. No space for Rico Ioane, no space for Artie Savia, which was really tough.
For me,
team
at the center, and that's a great team. The center pairing or the center replacement, I went with Rico. Rico Ioane, 80 tests, 185 points. But for me, I was kind of umming and ahhing, should I get Sonny Bill in there?
Yeah.
Because I think Sonny Bill coming on
from the bench will be great.
Impact player. Wow.
Yeah.
Imagine that. I mean,
that's a good shout.
Silky. But I went with Rico because of his points tally and what he can do and the flexibility he can offer at both wing and at center.
Okay.
Mate, two amazing teams.
Amazing teams. Yeah, great debate. But we need someone to get these players to play as a cohesive unit. Who's going to be the brains trust that coaches this fantasy All Black side?
So I couldn't pick anyone other than Steve Hansen.
Yeah.
Shag is an amazing man manager. I think it's well regarded, as I said before, that 2011-16 to 2016 team, possibly the best rugby team of all time. A lot of it, is accredited to his strategic influence, his tactics, the way he managed those teams, and also the way that he managed teams reminds me also of how Rassie manages his lads now. Picking Nonu often, for example, when he would be, poos at Hurricanes, or he wasn't doing so great, and then all of a sudden he'd be asked about it in press conferences, and he'd go, "He's an All Black for a reason."
Yeah.
You don't pick an All Black because he's an All Black today and he's not an All Black tomorrow. They're All Blacks because they're that good to be in this team, and so we back them. You might be having a bit of a tough run, but and that kind of ability to inspire the guys around them to find the inspiration within themselves. As you said, Nonu would be struggling, but he'd always turn it on playing for the All Blacks. And I think a lot of that comes from having a coaching staff and led by Steve Hansen that would back you no matter what.
Okay, and did you pick an assistant?
I did. And controversially, I went with Joe Schmidt.
Interesting, because he had very limited time with the All Blacks, but obviously great success with Ireland.
And now also doing really, really well, most recently at least, with Australia. And
things are picking up with ours.
Yeah, and that bodes well with the Lions tour that's coming later this year. So there were a few other coaches kicking about, John Hart, Graham Henry, Razor. But when you look at it, I think pure Kiwi, Steve Hansen is stand up for me. And Steve Hansen also comes from a similar to Sean Fitzpatrick, is a family of rugby players.
Yeah.
It seems to be consistent in New Zealand.
Yeah, everyone plays rugby.
The Flynns, the Whitelocks, they're all families playing these rugby. But Des Hansen, Steve's dad, really an amazing rugby brain, I believe, in his own right. Steve's brother, Kelly Hansen, a good rugby player in his own right. My ex-boss, Steve Baker, wouldn't be happy with me saying anyone else, so I've gone with Steve Hansen.
No, but he is the obvious choice. I've also picked Steve Hansen as head coach. Just the success that he had, firstly as an assistant, relative success with Wales when he started coaching there.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic rugby man. Doesn't always come across as the friendliest guy, but I don't think people know him well enough. He's very reserved, very private, but fantastic man manager, fantastic coach, strategic thinker. I don't always go for head coaches as assistant coaches. I think assistant coach is a very specific role, but I did go for a head coach as assistant coach. I picked Wayne Smith.
Amazing.
Who coached the All Blacks in 2000 and 2001. I believe he was ahead of his time. We talk about Rassie in South Africa as this genius, this mastermind that thinks out of the box and does things that nobody else does. Wayne Smith did that 25 years ago. He was the out-of-the-box thinker that coached players different, and he had a very high EQ. He could connect with players emotionally and get the best out of them. If you speak to players that played under him, everyone will rate him very highly. So he was, he's up there. When you talk about rugby geniuses, he's up there. Yeah, I love Wayne Smith.
Somewhat quiet and unassuming in his way and his mannerisms, the way he went about it. But again, tactically and strategically, he was outstanding.
Yeah.
So I can see that. If we're going assistants I went with Joe Schmidt because, again, if you look at just coach for coach, Steve Hansen is the outstanding New Zealand coach, in my opinion. Joe Schmidt he's for what he's achieved, again, deserves a shout. But if we were going to go for an assistant, I would have gone with Tony.
Tony Brown. Okay.
Tony Brown. But
Can't steal him from the Springboks.
Springboks. He's doing well at the Springboks, and long may that continue.
Yeah, okay. Plus, he hasn't coached the All Blacks, so I think... but who knows what the future will hold. But let's see if he gets the best out of the Springboks. So that's our teams, our greatest All Black sides of the last 30 years. I'm sure that this will, create a lot of debate. Please leave your comments in the comments section. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Follow us on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the social medias.
All the socials.
Get involved in the conversation. We'd love to hear what you think of our greatest All Black side of all time. And next week we'll do this again. We will pick the greatest Australian side of the last 30 years.
We're going the Wallabies.
Challenge accepted.
Challenge accepted. Guys, let's hear your comments. We want to hear all the banter. Tell us how mental and crazy we are to leave out such and such person. We love it. We want to hear your thoughts and opinions because, again, it's a show about our opinions today.